Here we are.
What's good, man?
We've got a Corona cast.
I'm glad you're still alive.
Yeah, instant demonetization.
Haven't
Coronavirus exists. I just want to say that word because we're going to talk about it today.
Is that instant demonetization?
It's one of the things. If you make content on YouTube about a tragedy that is unfolding, ongoing, they demonetize it so as not to have false information.
Yeah.
And what they're currently dealing with is coronavirus is no longer just a singular event like a Sandy Hook or something like that. And so they're pulling that back and increasing the ability to monetize.
We're doing it for free. We're doing it for free. We're going to talk about Corona.
It's for love of the game. But yeah, of course I'm fine. I've seen you every day. So, don't act surprised. But guys, it's good to be back. We really did want to talk to you because I've been hyper triggered by everything that's occurring in the world. I don't know how you feel. Are you okay emotionally?
Like nervous?
No, just emotionally. Where's your head at?
Totally fine. Same as before.
Yeah.
As if it's not happening, except my mom got sick. I don't know if I told you this.
You mentioned, yeah.
She got either pneumonia or bronchitis or Corona. She was sore and coughing and she couldn't breathe and all that. Then she got one of those grade A Corona tests and came back negative.
Oh, really?
I'm so skeptical. I think they just don't know how to test for it.
So let's hop right into this.
She had every symptom known to man. She's like, I've never been afraid I was going to die before.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't breathe. Took the test, negative.
While she was showing symptoms. Mm-hmm. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But one of the big things I've seen about coronavirus, and there's 100 ways to break this down, but it's been so ridiculously, I don't want to say it's been politicized, but the responses to it are hyper political. So I can say with a fair degree of accuracy, if you're someone who is really concerned, upset that people are still mingling, that you lean left. And if you think this is overblown, that the economy is a bigger issue and that people need to chill out because it's not a big deal, you lean right. Mm-hmm. And I was in preparation kind of for this podcast, I watched a Ben Shapiro video on a John Oliver.
Oh, nice.
And it felt like they were talking about different things. Like Ben Shapiro was talking about a sickness that was, important, but on the news. And John Oliver was talking about a plague. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you why would there be such a different response mm-hmm. amongst different political factions to this?
So I think there's two answers. There are two things that both mm-hmm. contribute. So one, Trump went on the news and said this isn't a big deal. Mm-hmm. So he put his flag in the sand, right? Then, in order to make him look bad, liberal media goes, this is a big deal. He under-responded, and anything they're basically trying to say any death that occurs is on Trump's hands. Mm-hmm. Like the blood is on his hands because he got rid of our pandemic team and he responded less of a panic than he should have. So now they've put their flag in the sand, mm-hmm. which is to say, when people die, we get to blame Trump, and Trump gets to say, you guys need to get back to work. This isn't a big deal. And so I think if you're a Republican, you see Trump, who you probably like, saying it's not a big deal, and you think CNN is full of crazy people that lie. Mm-hmm. And so you go, oh, this isn't a big deal, and CNN's lying. And if you're a liberal, you watch Trump say it's not a big deal, and immediately your brain hears what Trump says and goes, he's wrong and an idiot.
Yeah.
And then you turn on CNN and they say, this is going to be terrible, and the deaths now, we get to blame Trump now instead of a virus. Yeah. And so then you go, oh, this is horrible and Trump's an idiot.
So your hypothesis is that if either Barack Obama were president and mm-hmm. had the same behavioral response in the first weeks that Trump did, that these sides would be reversed?
It is, but there's also another, so the second factor, which is super interesting. Normally, the way it shakes out, the Democrats and liberals tend to live in cities. Mm-hmm. And Republicans tend to live in rural areas.
I'm glad you said this.
So if you live in New York City, you look around, the hospitals are overrun, literally. They have, trucks of dead bodies. They don't know what to do with them. And so you think this is really serious. And if you live in a small town, my friend lives in a town in Colorado. He's a rancher. I don't know if you know this. He's a cow rancher. And so he said, the first person in our town got it today. And I talked to him 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And he said, so I live in a town of 500 people and one person has it now. And so that's his version of Corona, is that it was nothing, one person. And maybe it'll spread through his literally 500 person town. But we went to a high school that had more people in our graduating class than his entire county does. Yeah. And by the way, his houses are really far apart because they're ranches.
Yeah.
So I think if you're in a city, this is a bigger deal. You walk around LA, everything's shut down. It looks like a zombie apocalypse. Mm-hmm. You live on a cattle ranch, your life is exactly the same.
I think that's a huge piece of it, is what is your reality? A liberal reality, because they're in a city, is this is a bigger deal. And if you're in the middle of nowhere, you're like, what is everyone talking about?
Speaking of political memes, I thought it was really funny. I saw this thing. The meme wasn't funny, but I just thought the back and forth is so funny because it's absurd. This person was saying, like, look at the concentrated areas of Corona. Now look at where the safety places are for illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. And then a liberal person goes like, yeah, man, that's where the humans live. It's where the humans live.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that one person is right or wrong. I just think it's funny.
Oh no, that's correlation. Correlation. So that's hilarious. I think there's another piece that just occurred to me. We talked previously about The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, and it says one of the big differences between people who lean left or are liberal and right, conservative, is the dimension of care, where care is of primary importance, and expressing it in an immediate fashion is more important to someone who is more liberal or left-leaning. And it's interesting because I was watching John Oliver, and the argument that Ben Shapiro was making is that this isn't the market versus people's lives. This is lives and lives, because the market is not simply a representation of a number of the corporations in America. It's
jobs.
It's jobs. Can you afford what sort of standard of living can you afford? How much stress is in your life, which will kill you? Can you afford medical care in the future? These types of things. You know, if the market didn't increase lifespan, then it wouldn't matter at all, right? I guess pleasure is important too. But watching John Oliver make interesting points, but at no point rebutted this other argument, which I see is, if it's lives on one side, lives on the other, how do we begin to weigh that? And it was interesting because Ben Shapiro had a guy credentialed, as the liberal people do. A credentialed doctor comes on and says what they want him to say.
Yeah.
He's got this
To
guy.
be fair, that's how they sell toothpaste
Exactly.
too. You just get a guy in a lab coat to say he's a doctor.
Well, no, I mean, they both, I think, had well-credentialed doctors. Ben Shapiro's, I remember, was from Stanford.
No, I know. I'm just saying that yes, they both have doctors.
So
sure.
His guy made a very interesting point, which is we do not know the death rate, and there is no way to make rational policy decisions on this without knowing what he referred to as the denominator. So the numerator is the number of people who have died. The denominator is the number of people who have gotten it.
Yeah.
And we have no idea because, as you experience, one of the problems is when people have coronavirus and clear it, they don't show, the tests that they're using don't show it. We're not testing for antibodies, which is what we need to be testing for. So he says the most important thing that we can do over the next 2 weeks to save lives economically and otherwise, because there's two possible scenarios.
No, it's insane that my mom would get pneumonia for the first time in her life 14 days after having been in an airport. Before, pre the corona scare, but like it was around. It's just like, no, this is clearly a stupid test. This isn't working.
So his point is, and he was like, I don't have a political, or at least he tried to say this, I don't have a political horse in this game. I'm not saying we should or shouldn't relax the thing. What I'm saying is this is either a disease that kills 3% of people and we need to treat it very seriously, or it's a disease that we're not detecting the amount of people that have it and go unaffected, and it kills less people than the flu potentially. And that means we really need to look at relaxing in a week or two's time these restraints that we have on people, because people will die on the other side of this. And I thought it was an interesting point.
The one
I thought
thing
that they were talking past each other.
Well, not to downplay it. Apparently it's apparently a terrible thing to get. Like, I've gotten the flu.
Not get, to have symptoms for.
Yes.
Because this is the thing. It's terrible to be in a car accident, but it's not terrible to be in a car. Like, it has to go sideways.
Sure. I'm just saying if it was just the flu in terms of symptoms.
Yes.
Forget, like, just that's what it was. Yeah, go to work. I've had the flu. It's annoying. But apparently, if you get it badly, it is quite a terrible experience.
And I'm really not trying to take sides. That's also true of the flu. Now the difference is the flu we have vaccines for. So the populations that are most at risk don't have that horrible experience because they get their flu shot early in flu season.
Do you get a flu shot?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
I get the flu.
Yeah.
Every couple of years. And I go, I wish I got a flu shot. But then for the other 7 years that I don't get the flu. So that was the one angle. The other one that we've talked extensively about is the stimulus package.
Oh, can we start, before we go stimulus,
Sure.
Can we circle back? The one thing I think, because I think there's a lot of tendency to say that the other side is full idiots, right? So one, if you live in a place that you don't have corona, just recognize that people in New York are actually being killed over it. But the flip side is, if you're a liberal person and you're like, how could these Republicans be so heartless? I didn't hear anyone care when it was Wuhan, China. Very, very few people were worried about it for the Chinese people or for themselves. So for a lot of people living in rural areas, it's still like it was for all of us a month ago, which is to say a thing they've heard about and they don't know anyone that's gotten it and it's not affecting their lives. So just a quick, like, no one's an idiot here. If you think the other side is being callous or overreacting, you're just not living their reality.
Yeah, looking around their neighborhood.
Yeah.